My hands didn't shake as I reached into my worn leather satchel. Around me, 200 guests in designer suits and evening gowns had gone silent. My daughter's fiancé stood at the microphone, his face still flushed with the arrogance of his toast. He'd just called me a nobody trucker who got lucky in front of everyone who mattered to my daughter. I pulled out a single manila envelope. Marcus, that was his name, didn't know it yet, but inside this envelope was the deed to the building where his corner office sat. Where it had sat, anyway, but I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Robert Mackenzie. I'm 63 years old, and for the past 4 decades, I've driven trucks across this country, from Vancouver to Halifax, through blizzards in the Rockies and ice storms in Ontario. I've hauled everything from lumber to electronics. My hands are scarred from years of loading docks and tire chains. My back aches on cold mornings. I wear flannel shirts because they're practical, not fashionable. To most people, I look exactly like what I am, a working man who's earned every calloused inch of his hands. What most people don't know is that 23 years ago, I started Mackenzie Logistics with a single used Peterbilt and a provincial route. Today, we operate 600 trucks, 3 warehouses, and handle freight contracts for some of the largest retailers in Canada. I'm not on any rich lists. I don't have a Wikipedia page. I still drive truck twice a month because it keeps me grounded, reminds me where I came from. The company's ownership is buried in numbered corporations. My lawyers handle the paperwork. My CFO runs the day-to-day. I just drive, think, and occasionally sign things. I never told my daughter the full truth about the business. When Catherine was young and asked what Daddy did, I said I was a truck driver, which was true. When she got older and asked how we could afford her university education at UBC, I said I'd been smart with my money. Also true. When her friends, parents, doctors, lawyers, tech executives in Vancouver's booming market asked what I did at parent events, I'd say logistics and change the subject. Catherine knew we were comfortable. She didn't know we were wealthy. I wanted her to understand the value of work, to not take things for granted, to judge people by their character rather than their bank statements. Maybe that was my mistake. Catherine met Marcus Whitmore 18 months ago at a charity gala in downtown Vancouver. She was 28, working as a project manager for a sustainable architecture firm. He was 34, a vice president at Whitmore and Associates Investment Management, a boutique firm that handled portfolios for Vancouver's wealthy elite. Their first date was at a trendy Cole Harbour restaurant. He picked her up in his leased BMW M5. She called me the next day, giddy with excitement. "Dad, he's amazing. He's so sophisticated, so successful. We talked for 4 hours." I was happy for her. Catherine had been through a rough breakup 2 years prior. She deserved someone who made her smile. I met Marcus 3 weeks later at a Sunday dinner Catherine organized. She'd moved into a condo in Yaletown. I'd helped with the down payment, told her it was from savings, and wanted us to meet. I drove my personal truck, a 2015 Ford F-250 I used for hauling gear to my cabin in Whistler. It wasn't new, but it was paid for and ran fine. Marcus was waiting in the lobby when I arrived, tailored navy suit on a Sunday designer watch, catching the light. He looked at my truck through the glass doors, then at my Carhartt jacket and work boots. His handshake was firm but brief. "Mr. Mackenzie, Catherine's told me so much about you. Call me Rob. And she's told me about you too." We went up to her apartment. Over dinner, Catherine had made roast chicken. Her mother's recipe, Marcus, dominated the conversation. His deals, his clients, the portfolio he'd grown by 18%, his connections to the Vancouver Canucks organization, his family's history. His grandfather had been a judge. His father ran a successful law practice in West Vancouver. "And what about you, Rob?" he finally asked, 40 minutes in. "Catherine mentioned you're in transportation." "Trucking," I said. "Long haul, mostly." "Oh." His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "That's honest work." Catherine jumped in. "Dad's being modest. He runs his own operation." "How many trucks?" Marcus asked. I took a sip of water. "Enough to keep busy." "Fascinating," he said, in a tone that meant the opposite. We handle logistics investments at the firm. The industry is being disrupted by automation and AI. Traditional operators are struggling to adapt. No offense, but the small independent guys, they're dinosaurs. The future is consolidated corporate fleets with sophisticated algorithms. Interesting perspective, I said. Catherine squeezed my hand under the table. A silent apology, or maybe a plea to let it go. The rest of dinner was pleasant enough. Marcus talked about taking Catherine to Tofino for the weekend, to a resort I happened to own a minority stake in through one of my investment vehicles. I didn't mention it. After I left, Catherine texted, "Sorry about the lecture. He gets passionate about business. He really likes you." I replied, "He seems driven. Make sure he likes you, not just the idea of you." "Dad, don't worry. I'm happy." And she was. Over the next 6 months, I watched Catherine glow. Marcus took her to Michelin-starred restaurants. They went skiing at Whistler, staying at the Fairmont, which I'd hauled supplies to 100 times. He introduced her to his circle finance people, tech entrepreneurs, the kind of crowd that summered in the Okanagan and wintered in Palm Springs. I saw her less. When we did meet for our monthly breakfast at our favorite Greasy Spoon in East Van, a place I'd been taking her since she was 6, she'd check her phone constantly. "Marcus wants me to try this new place in Gastown instead," she said once. "He says the ambiance is better." "What's wrong with Nick's?" I asked, gesturing to the laminate tables and faded Canucks posters. "Nothing, Dad. It's just... Marcus says image matters in his world. The people you're seen with, the places you go, it reflects on you. And your old man in a truck stop cafe doesn't fit that image?" She looked stricken. "I didn't mean..." "I know, honey. I know." But something had shifted. The engagement came 8 months after they met. Marcus proposed at the Vancouver Lookout, the revolving restaurant where you could see the whole city spread below. Catherine called me crying happy tears. They were getting married in June, at the Terminal City Club, one of Vancouver's most prestigious venues. "I want you to walk me down the aisle, Dad," she said, "and Marcus wants you to be involved. We're planning an engagement party next month. Just close family and friends. Marcus is handling everything." The engagement party was held at Marcus's parents' house in West Vancouver. Not a house, an estate, perched on the hillside overlooking the water, probably 7,000 square feet, with a view that stretched from Stanley Park to the North Shore Mountains. Cars lined the circular driveway, Mercedes, Teslas, a Porsche. I parked my F-250 at the end of the line and walked up. A valet tried to take my keys. "I'm good," I said. "Just need to grab something from the back." I retrieved the gift I'd brought, a framed photo of Catherine and her mother from 15 years ago, before the cancer took her. Catherine was 13 in the picture, gap-toothed and laughing on a fishing boat in Campbell River. Her mother had her arm around her, both of them holding up a salmon they'd caught together. I'd had it restored and framed in maple wood. I'd milled myself. Inside, the party was already in full swing. Probably 60 people, all of them looking like they'd stepped out of a yacht club catalog. Servers circulated with champagne and canapes. A string quartet played near the floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus saw me enter and approached with Catherine. "Rob, you made it." He looked at my clothes, clean jeans, a pressed button-down. My good boots and I saw the flicker of disappointment. Everyone else was in cocktail attire. "Catherine said you were coming straight from work." "Day off, actually," I said. "Oh, well." He recovered quickly. "Come meet my parents." Harold and Vivian Whitmore were in their late 60s, holding court near the fireplace. Harold wore a blazer with an ascot. Vivian had enough diamonds to fund a small hospital. "Mother, father," Marcus said. "This is Catherine's father, Robert Mackenzie." "Delighted," Vivian said, offering her hand, like I should kiss it. I shook it instead. "Marcus has told us you're in the trucking business." "That's right." "How quaint," she said. "Harold, didn't we have a truck driver at our Alaska cruise?" He told the most amusing stories about highway life. "That was the naturalist guide, dear," Harold corrected. "The truck driver was at our anniversary party. He delivered the ice sculpture." "Oh, yes. Lovely ice sculpture. Swans." I smiled politely. Marcus steered me away. "Let me introduce you to some of the other guests." Catherine's mingling with the ladies. For the next hour, I was paraded through the party like an exhibit. Each introduction followed the same pattern. This is Catherine's father. He's a trucker. And each reaction was some variation of polite surprise. Oh, how interesting. That must be hard work. Do you drive those big rigs? I could never handle something so large. A few people asked genuine questions about the job. I appreciated those. Most just smiled and moved on to more interesting conversations. I found Catherine on the terrace, looking out at the view. Beautiful night, I said. She turned, and I saw tears in her eyes. Hey, what's wrong? Nothing. I miss Mom. She should be here for this. I pulled her into a hug. She would be so proud of you, Kat. You've built a good life. You're happy. That's what mattered to her. Am I happy? She whispered. Aren't you? She pulled back, wiped her eyes. Yes, of course. Marcus is wonderful. This is wonderful. I'm just being emotional. Before I could press further, Marcus appeared with champagne flutes. There you are. Dad's about to make a toast. He handed us glasses, then guided Catherine back inside. I followed. Harold Whitmore stood by the fireplace, tapping a knife against his glass. The room quieted. Friends, family, thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate the engagement of our son Marcus to the lovely Catherine Mackenzie. Applause. Catherine blushed. When Marcus first told us about Catherine, we knew she was special, bright, accomplished, beautiful, and we're thrilled to welcome her into the Whitmore family. He paused. Of course, every family has its own unique history. The Whitmores have been part of Vancouver's legal and business community for 3 generations. Catherine comes from more humble origins. But as we always say, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And Catherine has certainly made something of herself, despite the circumstances. I felt my jaw tighten. Despite the circumstances, so let's raise a glass to the happy couple. May their future be bright. Everyone drank. I set my glass down, untouched. Marcus took the microphone next. Thank you, Dad, and thank you all for being here. He put his arm around Catherine. I want to say a special word about Catherine's father, Rob. He couldn't be here earlier to help set up. He was working, because that's what Rob does. He works, every day, out on the highways, keeping our supply chains moving. It's not glamorous. It's not easy, but it's necessary work. And we should all appreciate the Rob Mackenzies of the world, who do the jobs the rest of us are too educated to do. Scattered, uncomfortable laughter. Rob represents something important, the value of hard work, of humble beginnings. He raised Catherine on a trucker's salary, and look at her now. It just shows you that good parenting transcends socioeconomic status. More laughter, though Catherine's smile looked frozen. But seriously, Rob Marcus turned to me, raising his glass. Thank you for raising such an incredible woman. Catherine is trading up from your world to mine, but I promise to take good care of her. She'll never have to worry about money or status or where the next paycheck comes from. I've got this. He winked at me. The room applauded. Catherine was looking at the floor. I stood there, feeling the weight of every eye in the room. Part of me wanted to leave. Walk out, get in my truck, drive to my cabin in Whistler, and forget this whole thing. But Catherine needed me. I'd promised her mother I'd always be there, even when it was hard. So I raised my glass. To the happy couple, I said quietly. After the toast, I found Catherine in the library. A wood-paneled room, lined with leather-bound books that looked like they'd never been opened. Dad, I'm so sorry. Marcus didn't mean, didn't he? He just gets nervous at these things. He tries too hard to be funny. He called me uneducated, Kat. He said you were trading up from my world. He's proud of what he's accomplished. You can understand that, right? You're proud of what you've built. I looked at my daughter, this brilliant woman who could design sustainable buildings and negotiate complex contracts, and wondered when she'd started making excuses for disrespect. Your mother and I taught you to judge people by their character, not their job title. I know, Dad. Do you? She didn't answer. I gave her the framed photo before I left. She cried when she saw it, held it against her chest. Thank you, she whispered. This is the best gift. Remember who you are, Catherine. Remember where you came from. I will. But I wasn't sure she would. The wedding planning consumed the next 5 months. Catherine and Marcus chose June 23rd, a Saturday. The Terminal City Club, as planned. 200 guests. Marcus's firm was handling most of the costs. We can't have Catherine's father going into debt for this, Marcus had said magnanimously, not knowing I could have bought the entire club in cash. I saw less of Catherine during this time. Wedding planning meetings, dress fittings, registry consultations. Marcus had opinions on everything. The flowers should be imported peonies, not local roses. The menu should feature Pacific halibut and Alberta beef, not salmon, too common for a wedding. The band should play jazz standards, not the classic rock Catherine loved. It's fine, she told me over our now quarterly breakfasts. Weddings are stressful. We're just figuring things out. Are you happy? I asked again. Why do you keep asking me that? Because you don't look happy. She pushed her eggs around her plate. I'm getting married in 3 months, Dad. I'm overwhelmed, but I'm happy. Marcus is good to me. He's going to be a good husband. What makes you think that? He's successful. He's driven. He takes care of things. That's not the same as good, honey. You just don't like him because he's not a blue-collar guy like you. The words hit harder than she'd probably intended. I don't like him because he doesn't respect you, I said quietly. Or me. Or anyone who doesn't fit into his world. That's not fair, isn't it? We finished breakfast in silence. The rehearsal dinner was the night before the wedding, held at a private room in Hawksworth Restaurant, one of Vancouver's finest. Just the wedding party and immediate family, about 40 people. I drove myself to the restaurant, parked on the street. Inside, Marcus's side of the family had already claimed one end of the table, his parents, his sister, and her husband, various aunts and uncles. Catherine's side was smaller me, her Aunt Linda from Calgary, and a couple of her childhood friends serving as bridesmaids. Marcus stood to make the first toast after appetizers arrived. Tomorrow is the big day, he began, and I want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this possible. My parents, for their generosity in helping fund this celebration. My groomsmen, for keeping me sane. Catherine's friends, for putting up with my bride's wedding madness. Polite laughter. And of course Catherine's father, Rob. He turned to me. Rob, I know this has been expensive for you. Catherine told me you insisted on contributing to the wedding costs, even though we tried to tell you it wasn't necessary. You're a proud man, and I respect that. But I want you to know that going forward, Catherine won't have to worry about money anymore. She's marrying into a family that can provide for her. You've done your part, you got her to adulthood, put her through school somehow. Now it's my turn to take care of her. He raised his glass. To Rob, for getting Catherine this far. We'll take it from here. The table drank. I didn't. Catherine was looking at me, her expression pleading. Don't make a scene, Dad. Please. Marcus sat down, smiling like he'd just given a heartwarming speech. Harold Whitmore leaned over to him. Well said, son. Passing of the torch and all that. Something in me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a lake that's been bearing weight all winter and finally can't hold anymore. I stood up. The table went quiet. I'd like to say something, I said. Catherine's eyes went wide. Dad, Marcus, you've made a lot of assumptions tonight. About my finances. About what I can and can't afford. About who I am and what I've provided for my daughter. Marcus's smile didn't waver. Rob, I didn't mean... Let me finish. My voice was calm. 40 years of negotiating with union reps and corporate buyers had taught me that calm is more powerful than anger. You said I got Catherine to adulthood and put her through school somehow. That somehow was planning, discipline, smart investments. You said she won't have to worry about money anymore. Catherine has never had to worry about money. Ever. Dad, Catherine whispered. Don't. But I'd started, and I was going to finish. You've spent the last 18 months making jokes about my work, about my truck, about my clothes. You've treated me like I'm some kind of charity case your family is graciously tolerating. And you've done it in front of my daughter, who has spent her entire life thinking her father was just a working man trying to get by. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the envelope I'd brought. Catherine, honey, I need to tell you something. I should have told you years ago, but I wanted you to understand the value of work before you understood the value of wealth. I opened the envelope and pulled out a document, placed it on the table. This is the deed to the building at 1055 West Hastings Street in downtown Vancouver. 12 stories, approximately 200,000 square feet of Class A office space. Marcus, I believe your firm, Whitmore & Associates, leases the entire 7th floor. Corner offices, city views. Your father's law practice is on the 9th floor, if I remember correctly. The color was draining from Marcus's face. I purchased that building in 2008 during the financial crisis for $17 million. It's currently valued at $73 million. The annual lease revenue is approximately $4.2 million. Harold Whitmore was staring at the document. That's just one building, I continued. I own 4 others in Vancouver's commercial district, plus 3 warehouse facilities in Richmond and Surrey, plus Mackenzie Logistics, which operates 600 trucks across Canada and generates about $95 million in annual revenue. Catherine had her hand over her mouth. I drive truck because I love it. Because it keeps me honest. Because when you spend 40 hours a week alone in a cab, you have time to think about what matters. And what matters isn't money or status or corner offices. It's character. It's how you treat people. It's whether you can look at yourself in the mirror and like what you see. I turned to Marcus. You said Catherine was trading up from my world to yours. Let me be clear about whose world is whose. Your firm manages about $400 million in assets, according to your public filings. That's impressive. You personally probably earn, what, $300,000 a year? Maybe $400 with bonuses? That's good money. His jaw was clenched. I'm worth somewhere north of $270 million. My daughter will inherit all of it, along with a trust fund I established for her when she was born that's currently worth about $8 million. She was always going to be financially secure, Marcus. She didn't need you for that. The room was dead silent. What she needed was someone who would love her for who she is. Someone who would respect her family. Someone who wouldn't spend 18 months making me feel small so he could feel big. I picked up the deed, put it back in the envelope. Catherine, baby, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted you to make your own way, to not rely on my money. But I should have been honest. She was crying now. Dad, and Marcus, I said, turning back to him. About that lease, your firm's contract is up for renewal in 3 weeks. I've instructed my property manager to offer you a new 5-year term at current market rates about $48 per square foot, which is actually below market. I'm a businessman, not vindictive. But going forward, I'd appreciate it if you treated my daughter with the respect she deserves, and maybe worked on your toast writing skills. I sat down. For about 10 seconds, nobody moved. Then Marcus stood up, his face red. This is ridiculous. You're lying. Catherine, your father is lying to try to. He's not lying, Harold Whitmore said quietly. He was looking at his phone. I just looked up Mackenzie Logistics. The corporate registry shows Robert J. Mackenzie as principal owner, and the property records for 1055 West Hastings. He looked up at me. You actually do own it. Marcus grabbed Catherine's hand. Cat, why didn't you tell me? I didn't know, she whispered. I swear, I didn't know. This changes everything, Marcus said. I mean, we should talk about prenups, asset protection. Marcus. Catherine pulled her hand away. Stop. What? She stood up, tears streaming down her face. You just heard my father tell you he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and your first thought is prenups? Not sorry for being an asshole? Not I shouldn't have judged you? Cat, I'm being practical. You called him uneducated. You said I was trading up. You've spent 18 months treating my father like he was beneath you. I didn't know. And that makes it okay? Her voice cracked. You thought he was poor, so it was fine to disrespect him? Is that what you're saying? Marcus looked around the table, suddenly realizing everyone was staring at him. No. I just meant, get out, Catherine said. What? Get out. This is my rehearsal dinner, my family, and I don't want you here. Catherine? You're being emotional. I said get out. Her scream echoed in the private room. Marcus stood there, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. Finally, he grabbed his jacket and stormed out. His parents and sister followed, Vivian muttering something about theatrics. When they were gone, Catherine collapsed into her chair, sobbing. I moved to sit beside her, pulled her into my arms like I used to when she was little and had nightmares. "I'm so sorry, baby," I whispered. "I didn't mean to ruin your wedding." "You didn't ruin anything," she choked out. "I did. I was so blind. I let him treat you that way because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed of my own father." No. Yes, I was. He made me feel like being working class was something to be ashamed of, and I believed him. "I'm so sorry, Dad. Mom would be so disappointed in me." "Your mother would be proud of you," I said firmly. "You just stood up for yourself. You just chose character over comfort. That takes courage." She cried for a long time. Her friends gathered around, rubbing her back, bringing her water. Eventually, she calmed enough to speak. "What do I do now?" she asked. "The wedding's tomorrow. 200 guests. The venue, the flowers, the food, it's all paid for." I thought about it. "Do you want to marry him?" "No," she said immediately. Then, quieter. "No, I don't. I don't even know if I love him. I think I love the idea of him, the life he represented. But when I'm with him, I feel small. Like I'm always apologizing for existing. Then we call off the wedding. But the money is just money, honey. I've got plenty. What I don't have plenty of is daughters, and I'm not watching mine marry someone who makes her feel small." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, Kat." We spent the next hour making calls. The venue, the caterer, the band, all canceled. Most were understanding, especially when I offered to pay the full contracted amounts anyway. The guests were trickier. Catherine sent a text to the wedding party. "Wedding is off. We'll explain later. Please spread the word." Within an hour, her phone was blowing up. Friends, relatives, acquaintances all wanting to know what happened. She turned it off. "I'll deal with it tomorrow," she said. "Tonight, can we just go somewhere quiet? I know just the place." We drove in my truck to White Rock, about an hour south, parked on Marine Drive, and walked along the pier. The sun was setting over the water, painting everything gold and purple. We sat on a bench, watching the waves. "Why didn't you tell me?" Catherine asked. "About the money?" "Because I wanted you to know your own worth first. When you were little, I saw how your friends with wealthy parents acted entitled, careless, disconnected from reality. I didn't want that for you. I wanted you to understand that money doesn't make you valuable. Your work, your kindness, your integrity, that's what makes you valuable." "Did Mom know? Before she died?" "She knew. She agreed with keeping it quiet. In fact, it was her idea. She grew up poor, worked her way through nursing school. She never forgot where she came from, and she didn't want you to forget either." Catherine smiled through tears. She was incredible, just like her daughter. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Catherine said, "What happens now? To Marcus, I mean. What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. Part of me wants him to suffer. Part of me just wants him to learn." "Well," I said carefully, "his firm's lease is actually up for renewal. I wasn't lying about that, and I do need to make a decision about the terms." "You're not going to kick them out, are you?" "I haven't decided yet. What do you think I should do?" She considered it. "Offer them the fair market rate. Don't punish them, that would be stooping to Marcus's level. But don't give them any special favors either. Let them pay what everyone else pays." "Wise counsel," I said. "That's what I'll do. And Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Can I see the warehouse? And the logistics center? I want to understand the business. Really understand it." I smiled. "I'd like that. In fact, I've been thinking about succession planning. The company needs someone to take over eventually. Someone smart, someone with integrity, someone who understands both the working side and the business side." "Are you asking me to join the family business?" "I'm asking you to think about it. You'd have to start at the bottom, learn the ropes. But if you're interested..." "I'm interested," she said immediately. "I spent 4 years designing buildings for other people. Maybe it's time I help build something of my own." We watched the sun finish setting. When it was dark, we drove back to Vancouver. I dropped Catherine at her condo. She didn't want to go back to the place she'd shared with Marcus. "Dad?" she said before getting out. Thank you for tonight, for everything, for being exactly who you are. Thank you for reminding me who you are, I said. The next morning, I woke to dozens of text messages. Friends and relatives who'd heard about the canceled wedding and wanted to check on Catherine. A few from Marcus, ranging from apologetic, "Can we talk?" "I was an idiot," to angry. "This is your fault. You ruined everything." To desperate Catherine, "Please, I love you. We can work this out." I also had one from my property manager. "Whitmore and Associates called this morning. They want to discuss the lease renewal urgently. Marcus's father is asking for a meeting. What should I tell them?" I replied, "Standard renewal terms. Market rate. No negotiation. If they don't like it, we'll find new tenants." 3 weeks later, Marcus's firm signed the new lease at $48 per square foot, a significant increase from their old rate of $37. They stayed in the building. I saw Harold Whitmore once in the lobby. He nodded at me, didn't say anything. I nodded back. Marcus tried to reach out to Catherine multiple times. She blocked his number after the first week. Last I heard, he'd started dating someone new, a developer's daughter, according to the society pages. Good for him. Catherine started at McKenzie Logistics 3 months later. She worked in dispatch for 6 weeks, then moved to warehouse management, then to route planning. She was good at it, saw inefficiencies I'd missed, suggested improvements, asked questions that made me think. After 8 months, I made her a junior operations manager. After 18 months, she was running the entire British Columbia division. She moved into a house in Kitsilano, paid for it herself with her salary and some of her trust fund. She dated occasionally, but nothing serious. "I'm focusing on work," she told me, "and myself, figuring out who I am when I'm not trying to impress someone." We had breakfast every Sunday at Nick's, the Greasy Spoon in East Van. Sometimes we talked about business, sometimes about her mother. Sometimes we just ate pancakes and read the newspaper in comfortable silence. One Sunday, about 2 years after the canceled wedding, Catherine looked up from her coffee. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sir." "Do you regret it? The way you told Marcus?" "Part of me thinks you were right to call him out, but part of me wonders if there was a better way." I thought about it. I don't regret it. Could I have handled it differently? Probably. But Marcus needed to hear the truth, and you needed to see who he really was. If I'd pulled him aside privately, had a quiet conversation, would anything have changed? Probably not. Right. And you might have married him, spent years trying to change him, trying to be good enough for him. The truth is, honey, some people can't learn unless they're confronted with the consequences of their actions. Did he learn, though? I don't know. But you learned. You learned your own worth. You learned to stand up for yourself. That matters more to me than whether Marcus learned anything. She smiled. When did you get so wise? 40 years in a truck cab gives you time to think. We finished our breakfast. On the way out, Catherine stopped. Hey, Dad, I'm glad you're a truck driver. Yeah? Yeah. You taught me that there's dignity in every kind of work, that respect is earned through character, not job titles, that family is what matters. She hugged me. You taught me everything that matters. I hugged her back, this brilliant, strong, grounded woman who'd learned to value substance over appearance, character over status, truth over comfort. Your mother would be so proud, I whispered. I hope so, she said. I'm trying to be more like her every day. We walked out into the Vancouver sunshine, got into my old F-250, and drove to the warehouse. Catherine had a meeting with a new client, a sustainable furniture company looking for a logistics partner. She'd spent 2 weeks preparing the proposal, working out routes and pricing and environmental impact assessments. As I watched her present to the client, confident and knowledgeable and authentically herself, I thought about Marcus's toast at the engagement party, about how he'd said Catherine was trading up from my world to his. He'd been wrong. Catherine hadn't traded anything. She'd just learned what her world actually was, not defined by money or status, or who she was with, but by the values she chose to live by, the work she chose to do, the person she chose to be. And that world? It was worth more than any building, any business, any bank account. It was worth everything.